Oh, all right. I'm live in Wait, what?
Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead and put it like this, I think. Pull it a little bit higher, a little bit. Yeah, like right there.
The whole time?
Yeah, the whole time. I really want to promote the book.
I don't know if this is going to work.
Why?
You know what? This actually might give us more views. All right, let's keep going.
You always said you had a face for radio, Johnny.
I know. I did not think this through. Or did I?
I'm not used to being recorded, and I'm wearing one of Johnny's shirts. I feel like Bruce Banner when he's wearing Tony Stark's clothes. Why are these pants so tight around the crotch?
They cannot help it. All right, hey Jay, I watched this new video.
Oh, really? What was it?
It's called Between Two Ferns.
Oh, what's that like? Is it like...
It's like a talk show with that one guy from the Hangover movies.
Zach Galifianakis?
That guy, yeah. And I'm like, well, let's do one between two nerds. There's always a mic between us.
Dude, it sounds... So is he just like interviewing people?
Yeah, it's like a normal, just like...
Oh, do me. Do me, yeah,
all right,
yeah.
Ready? Okay, so be normal. It's going to be fine.
Okay, yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, and I'm here today with...
Jay Mortimer.
Jay, that's right. I've known you before.
Master of Death.
Oh, I don't like that name for you. We'll redo a name for you later.
Okay.
And we're here to promote his book. For some reason, he made a poster board of the book. Don't know why. No one's going to buy it or read it. How are you doing today? Thanks for coming on my show, Light Nerds.
This is kind of mean. Johnny, are we doing a bit? We're cool, aren't we?
No, we're all right.
Keep it going?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
a few more minutes. It's not a long book. We'll knock it out fast.
Okay. You titled yourself the Master.
I'm gonna go real quick.
Oh, okay. This is what I have to live with.
Okay, sorry. I just had to make sure my phone was off. Anyway,
You titled yourself the Master of Light. Is that because of how much you can bench?
I can bench light.
It's a very light bench.
You're funny. All right, Knights, we're in for a special treat. I've actually been pushing this for a while. Our Master of Death, Jay himself, wrote a book. I don't read books, but I will read this one when he makes an audio version of it. And I want to interview him, because this is your baby, your brainchild.
You know I told you it's not a picture book, right?
Okay, so someone's going to read me this book while I take a nap, and then we'll make a picture book version of it. No, I'm really excited.
Yeah. So I've been working on the book for coming up on 3 years.
Wow.
I'm currently on my 6th draft. I told myself no matter what, on my 8th draft, I would publish it.
Okay.
Or either indie publish or find a public publisher.
A self-published. I got it. Love it.
Yeah. So I haven't totally committed to anyone yet. It's an interesting world, especially with COVID on publishing. But back to the book. I've been writing it for 3 years. I finally have kind of started letting people read it and been getting some good mixed reviews.
Good.
Some people love it. Some people hate it.
So it's a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Story of our lives.
Problem is I keep having adults read it, and I write like to myself when I was 14. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always tell you, dumb it down for me.
Exactly.
And you should do that, as always.
Explain it to me like I'm
like
7.
7, and then like I'm 5.
Yeah.
And then that's it. So we have a lot. I mean, we went to FanX
Correct.
2021.
Yeah.
And we have this beautiful poster board right here. Who made this beautiful thing?
So my wife designed the cover, and then she also made the board for us.
She does all our logos. So
Correct.
Always marry smart is what I learned from Jay. So we're really excited. You're on your 6th draft. Let's start from day one. What made you write this book, Jay?
Okay, so this is actually a little bit of a sore spot between me and my wife because I told her I'm going to dedicate the book to Johnny, not to you. And it's not because of the podcast or anything like that. What happened? So I had been wanting to write a book for years, but I felt like I never had a good idea. And one time, Johnny and I were talking about mixing genres, and I didn't know what he meant by that. I was like, Johnny, explain to me what mixing genres is. And he said, it's bounty hunters riding dragons. And it was like, you know that moment in Jaws when he's sitting on the beach and someone yells shark attack and the camera zooms in while also focusing out and it...
Just all that way. It was
I can edit that in for people so they can see it.
Because we edit always.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, it's because that was a pet peeve of
moment.
mine. Like, as nerds, everyone was like, do you like fantasy or do you like sci-fi? And I'm like, what do you mean? Or what's the difference between the two of them? I'm like, does it matter? Or trying to find an actual movie or book that has both. That's actually super rare.
Right. Or steampunk fantasy was something. I think that was Carnival Row that got us talking about
Carnival,
it.
because it's a rare hybrid of a little bit of magic, a little bit of science.
And then there's a total steampunk. Wouldn't you say there's a steampunk vibe to
It's
it?
very steampunk is probably the most fantasy you're gonna get because it has realms of like fairies. It has sci-fi themes to it.
Right, but it's not necessarily married to that. Like it's a good example of marrying genres.
Yeah, its own little genre.
Yeah, so that was kind of what got us down the rabbit hole. So I had this idea of bounty hunters riding dragons, and then the rest of the story just kind of fell out of my head from that point on. My goal in writing it, so there are certain Star Wars interviews where they talk about George Lucas wanted to kind of break the typical narrative. He's still following the hero's journey, but he's doing things differently in Star Wars. And I wanted to do that. I thought, okay, sci-fi is always very scientific or whatever else. How can I make it magical but still being sci-fi? So that's kind of been my goal with the book is how can I involve things that are very, very much a trope in fantasy, but now it's in sci-fi. How does that make sense? A good example would be like oracles or a common theme in fantasy, right? Like you meet a wise seer or soothsayer, whatever you want to call it. I thought, how can I have that be something that makes sense in a sci-fi realm where magic doesn't really exist? And the idea that came to me was there's a character named Mads, and he's a supercomputer.
The spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's okay. You meet him pretty quick in the book. He's a supercomputer, and MADS stands for Multivariable Analytical Deductive System. So he predicts the future based on large sets of data.
I gotcha.
And he's self-aware. He's the only self-aware AI. So it's a little spooky on that regard.
Not bode well in fantasy realms.
I know. I also wanted to step away from the Terminator because it's that's kind of a trope where the AI is evil. So Mads is, we'll call him chaotic neutral.
I mean, Vision's not bad.
There you go. Although I did see White Vision, try and squeeze Wanda's head. So.
And I am a horrible interviewer. I forgot to even say the name. The Crystal Blade.
The Crystal Blade.
Written by Jay Mortimer, coming 2022.
Yeah.
Right? So what made you think of this name? Sorry, it's also from the World Eater Archives. I love that. That was actually... So we've been spitballing names with all of our friends for a while, and I just love that. World Eater Archives. It's like the archives.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what came about the name?
So both names we'll speak to. So the Crystal Blade, I had about 20 different names I really liked that fit the book. And I did a poll on our Instagram. We have 2,500 followers. Maybe a little less than that. But we're approaching 2,500. And so we had people vote. And we got a ton of feedback on what people liked. And the Crystal Blade, it was one of my least favorite names.
It was my favorite one. So I'm glad it won.
And it won. Like every time people wanted the Crystal Blade. And I was like, fine. So next book, I'm not going to be putting it on the poll.
I don't know. Do what the fans want.
And then the World Eater Archives, we also did a poll for.
Yeah.
And that one won nothing was even close.
That wasn't close, yeah.
Yeah. That one came up from me. It's funny, the World Eaters aren't actually really mentioned much in the book until the end. The book's meant to be, it's so funny.
It's a good setup, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
So you do find out about them at the end, who they are.
Okay.
It's a cool reveal. You figure out who are the World Eaters.
I cannot wait till you read this to me.
Every night.
Every night before I go to bed.
Like Jim reading to Pam and Dwight Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That'll be me.
That's the package I bought.
Even when we're arguing. You're still going to read to me tonight, right? Yeah, I'll still read to you tonight.
I'll still read to you tonight. No problem. So, World Eater Archives. So we learn about the World Eaters then.
At the end, yeah.
Cool. And I guess we're going out of order because that's us. Trilogy, 15 books, 10 books, no books. What are we feeling?
So I haven't set myself on a path yet. My current goal is 7 books.
Ooh, love it.
But I haven't committed to it. But that's how I envision it. That's how the world is set up for 7 books.
Okay, perfect. And how are you going to pitch it to Netflix? And what am I going to star in? Those are the two I want to hear about.
So if Netflix wanted to pick it up and I had to pitch it, I would do the pitch you did to me. Bounty hunters riding dragons.
Okay. And what is my
sci-fi
character?
and fantasy have a baby. There's this old woman.
Okay, yeah. I already like where this is going. It shows my range.
Yeah. Well, let me finish.
Okay.
And she has this dutiful son
Okay.
who's a war hero. And so you're the son.
Okay, I'll do both roles.
Honestly, if I were to cast you in it, I would make you one of the blind Nyans.
Okay.
Or maybe one of... No. I would make you one of the... So, All right, so this is another minor spoiler. I'm only going to talk really about the first half of the book, and I'll talk about the world in general. But
I mean, you can do it as vague as we need to. I just, you know me, if it's not about me for more than 2 minutes, I start to complain.
Okay, so the world the world in my book takes place on two worlds. Ours is Earth, a few hundred years in the future, and then Venus at this point has been a little bit terraformed. Okay. So it's not completely, but it's a little bit. Technology's gotten that good. And that's been a big focus of the book is technology in terms of what we have now isn't that much better. Like we have self-driving cars, flying is a little bit better, and then tech is getting smaller. But that's really about as far as it goes. A lot of the tech was devoted to transforming Venus.
Okay.
So Venus Venus is partly transformed. I'll just say that. There are cities on Venus. How it works, you'll have to read the book.
Love it.
But in that, there was a war. So this alien civilization shows up, takes over on Venus. They're called the Nayans. Okay. And a war breaks out. And that's kind of how the book starts, is we start in the book, in the war, and then the point of view shifts 20 years later, and that's where our story begins, with kind of in the aftermath of war, was where I wanted the general story to be.
Okay. I'll send you my headshots for other roles. Don't even worry.
But in the war, the Nayans, they don't use like bullets traditionally. They use rifles that blind people.
Oh, that's where okay, cool.
Yeah, so there's weapon systems that'll blind you. And there's part of the world building is it's alien tech, and there's a reason why it does it. But it kind of cripples the world economies because instead of having casualties, all of a sudden they have all these blind people and they have to bring them back, Yeah. All of their plans for war was that we're going to send guys over and they're going to die. Not that they're going to get blinded. Like this is kind of brutal, but it's how they thought. We're going to send people over. If they die, great. We lose a fourth of our army to casualties. Yeah. But no. They end up losing about half the army, and they're all blind. There's almost no casualties. So you're stuck with all your population on a different planet. So it bankrupts Earth pretty quickly because they have to send everyone back. So that's kind of a cool way that the Nayans were able to win in part because they weren't lethal, which I thought was interesting.
No, I like that. That's a good twist.
It makes them a little less brutal. You think about Halo, and it's like the grunts and the Covenant are brutal. They'll slash you up.
Yeah, but that's a good way to economically hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Which has long-lasting effects.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two effects of that.
I'm excited. That sounds really good. Okay, so...
Wait. So to answer the question,
I forgot. I thought I was just a foot soldier number 9. All right.
No. So they ship back all these blind soldiers, right? And what do you do with let's say that there's 20,000 blind soldiers. What do you do with them? I haven't given a specific number in the book, but they built a town for blind people. So it was structured so that the blind could live in it easily, You can walk 10 paces and everything is structured geometrically. So if you're blind, you can walk around it and know exactly where you are.
Perfect. Okay.
So here, different streets are different lengths. Every street there is the same amount of length. Okay. It's all geometric, everything. Anyway, so it's a city full of blind people. You'd be one of the blind people.
Okay, love it. I'm in the book. Haha, suckers.
Sorry, that's a total tangent.
Take that, everybody else. I want the lead role, though, so we'll talk about that off camera.
Okay.
We'll edit that in.
Well, he's 18, so...
When I shave, I look 25.
You would have to shave 4 times on set. That 6 o'clock shadow is back in 2 hours.
I've never not shaved. Executive producer rights, though. That you promised me.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the record. So let's go back a little bit here. Where did you go from here? You got your book. You wrote it. What are you waiting for?
So I need an editor right now. I'm working on that. I'm going to a writing conference this Friday.
Thanks for telling me.
Yeah. Sorry. So I'm going to a writer conference this Friday. It wasn't really an event like that where we can interview people, sadly. So I'm looking for an editor. I have a few lined up that I could potentially use. Excited. Yeah. Basically, I got the book to the point where I can't fix it anymore because...
You need other eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I need fresh eyes. Okay. So I told myself once I get to the 6th draft, I get an editor. The editor does, 2 run-throughs. Okay. One will be like content, so then I'll revise it again for the 7th, and then the last one will be for grammar. The last edit will be for grammar, and then it'll be ready to publish.
Okay, so that's all what you're waiting for.
Yeah, at this point, I'm 5 chapters from finishing my 6th draft, and then I need an editor. I'm done with it at that point.
Wow. What's your theoretical timeline?
Late 2022.
Like every good TV show I've ever heard. Late 2022. No, I'm excited for you. So we've had the luxury of interviewing amazing authors. We've met a ton of them. What helped you write your book? Because of people we interviewed. Like, we have an easy, like, the science behind this sounds crazy.
Yeah. So
like research, how much research? So I guess to make it a lot easier, we'll just go one at a time. What did you learn from all these people that we interviewed? These amazing guests we've had on.
So I really like Robert W. Ross as an interviewer because he talked about the balance between actual science and hand-wavium. You know, and
what does that mean?
Hand-wavium just means you give I have a warp drive. You know, you just say it's the science.
It's there. It's there.
Well, think about it like this. You know, if you were to jump 100 years in the past and you brought your phone with you, how would you explain your phone to someone?
I would wave my whole body, not even my hand. It works. I don't know.
You're a clog in the system.
I can't even explain like a simple Q-tip.
Yeah. So how do you explain engineering, you know, and everything else on these grand scales? So Carter lives in the world, but he doesn't know how it works. So Carter is the main character, point of view of Carter, and so he doesn't know how a lot of the stuff works. He just knows that it does. So that's the hand-wavium, and then other things I actually had to answer. So a good example is originally the book was going to take place on Mars.
Okay.
As I would dig more and more and more and more into the science, it would take a lot of work to terraform Mars, like a lot.
Really over Venus?
Yeah.
Oh, crazy! Cool.
So,
that's something I just learned.
Yeah. Venus. So Venus has its issues, but because of the Nyan technology, it was pretty easy to actually start terraforming it.
Okay.
There was a big leap because of that, and there's a lot with Venus So Venus is a lot closer to Earth. I don't know if you knew that either.
No, I was gonna go. Is it further away?
No. It's much closer to Earth than Mars is.
And I grammatically said further, not farther. See, you're not paying attention.
Wow. I didn't know that was a thing.
Okay, keep going. Yeah. So it's farther
This
away.
is why I have an editor. We'll have an editor.
Yeah.
So as the planets, kind of move towards each other, you can only get to Mars, 3 or 4 months out of the year.
Yeah.
There it's like 6 or 7.
Okay.
So you double your time on how you can reach it.
Oh, cool. That was smart. That's something that went into it. I love
Yeah.
it. Cool.
There are issues with Venus. It's extremely hot. It's the goddess of beauty, isn't Venus?
Yes. I almost said war, but that's Mars.
Yeah. So it's extremely hot there, pun intended. So I had to kind of fix that. There's a lot. So there's a lot of hand-wavium I do. Part of it is like the Nyan have technology that helped with it. But I also didn't want it to be so far in the future. I think one of the problems and detriments of sci-fi is we are either now or we're 2,000 years in the future, and it's Halo or Star Trek. Those are the general things. And I wanted something that felt like we could reach it if we could extend our lifetimes 200 years. We could reach it.
Once the Singularium hits and you can go through it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's not that far away from us. Like, our grandkids could have lived in this world.
Okay. No, I like that because it is a lot. They're either out of reach. You're not going to hit 500 years from now.
Yeah.
None of that. And there's plausible stuff. I like it. So how much time did you revise this in your... Where did this start? Like, if you were to be like Jay when we started this podcast, what was the concept you even had in your head? Like, has this changed 1,000 times?
1,000 times.
Get out. That's awesome.
So I had the idea of a family drama set between two planets in a post-war situation. And that's basically how it starts. Carter is whisked away. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about my favorite character in the book. His name is Valen.
Okay.
And so Valen...
Is he the villain?
He's not the villain.
Okay.
He's an uncle. So he's Carter's uncle.
Oh, cool, okay.
And he's a famous war hero.
Good mentor to you.
He's a bit of a... So when I say he's a war hero, people call him either war hero or war criminal.
Depends on what side you're on.
Yeah, he's kind of an elusive figure. But like they racked up his casualties really high. And Valen always says, like, I didn't kill that many people, but like once you start killing enough people, everything starts to be, it was Valen who did it. Any accident, any casualty that happened because of a mishap or an explosion, whatever, it was blamed on Valen. And so he's become this kind of larger than life figure. And the everyone started to nickname him Anubis.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
After the Egyptian god of the dead.
Okay.
So they call him the god of the dead, Anubis. And part of that is because he's actually a hybrid. So he's half human, half Nyan. So he's half alien, half normal. Are you following this all right?
I think I might audition for that one. Just saying. That one sounds very interesting.
There you go.
Oh, I like that one. No, I like that too. That's what'd you call him of death?
The god of death.
God of death. That's kind of cool. Not the master of death. That's
no,
you.
No, yeah.
Okay. But I like that though. That's really. I love cleverness. Super clever. I'm so debating on tangibly reading this book. It's getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. So Anubis is the god of the dead, and he's nicknamed after Anubis because he was considered a plague, and culturally, like hybrids were already viewed really poorly, right?
So like, there is a kind of a what is it called? Separatism or some type of like frowned upon. Like
Okay. So bloodlines are a really important thing. And we talk about it in the book. Bloodlines are a huge thing.
Start keeping that social aspect of it.
Yeah. Awesome. So bloodlines are huge, and then all of a sudden they're tainting it with a human.
Oh, okay.
And so
it's the other way around. They're the ones that are offended.
And humans don't like them because they showed up and took a planet, right? So there's drama. Now we're kind of in it. I wanted it to be like post Germany, World War II, 20 years later. Are now allies, like we're okay with each other.
But you're rebuilding society from
that. And there's still going to be some racism. We'll call it that. Yeah. Speciesism, I guess, is what we'll call it between aliens. So Carter is a quarter now at this point. He's 1/4 Nyan. He's the main character. So his grandparents are, one is a full Nyan, one's not.
And then so he's just the descendants of them. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a fun timeline.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of fun to see his conflict because here he grew up with this uncle who's larger than life. Like, no one likes his uncle.
On both sides.
On both sides. No one likes him. Okay. And his uncle lives in the blind city because he doesn't want people to see him. He's very distinctly hybrid. Like, hybrids have a very distinct look.
Okay.
So.
That's true. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, so
he lives in a little hiding spot.
Yeah, so he lives in the blind city because of that. Yeah, so a little bit about the Nyans. They're a little bit taller than humans. They each average about 6'5" to 7'5".
They'll Photoshop that for
me. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, we can work around that.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
I've seen Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, they do it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I've seen Gandalf in those things.
Yeah, they're fine.
You can play Valen.
Yeah.
They have red skin, which is pretty cool. And then they have orange eyes.
Ooh. Yeah. That's actually terrifying. Thank you for that. But it makes it exciting.
Yeah. But Valen is different because he looks very Nyan in his skin, but one of his eyes are blue, and so he stands out. Most hybrids have a different colored eye, whether it's brown or blue or green, whatever. Typically, the eyes only do one or the other.
Really?
So
the mythology behind this is not. That no wonder took you 3 years.
It's picking up, dude. It took me forever, and even then, like people read it and they're like, "I don't get this, I don't get that," and I'm like. No!
How do you not get it? It's in my head.
Well, not even that, but it's like, how did I miss that? So then I have to go back and fix it.
You need to be humble about it.
Add 2 sentences. Yeah. So it's been a good time. In terms of general world, last thing I wanted to talk about with this is the Nyans were running from something.
Okay, so they're in our galaxy for a reason.
Yeah. And what they're running from, you find out at the end, is the World Eaters. It's the big mystery of the book is what are we running from? At the end, it's revealed what are the World Eaters and why were these people running?
Did you just reveal it?
No, because you don't know what they are.
Perfect. Okay.
It's called the World Eater Archives. You know they're going to exist.
But what are they? You have yet to drop. Does Vale have the crystal blade? Who has the crystal blade? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we don't know.
Okay, I was gonna say, do you want me to talk to it?
No, I want you to talk to as much as you want to give out because I pre-ordered the first crystal blade. That's been official because we were gonna have one for our convention we had, but we weren't able to. But that is the goal that I know you want is to make your own crystal blade.
Right. So we're gonna have a crystal blade, a real life one, which will be a prop to. To give out as part of the book and everything
for photo
else.
Shoots. Yeah, I'm excited for photo shoots.
Yeah, so my goal with all of this is I don't necessarily want to be a writer full time. I would love that if it happens, great. But I've kind of resigned myself, like it's hard to do that. Anyone who buys the book, I just want it to cycle through back in and into marketing and whatever else. I don't want to be taking the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like what Robert was doing, our friend. Like he'd put it back into the book to grow and to memorabilia, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to tangibly make this the most expensive book in the world. Like I just want to not lose money on it.
I don't even care about that. Like I'm okay losing money on it. I just want people to have the chance to read it.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think it's a good story. I wrote it with the idea of what is a story I would have wanted to have when I was 14 or 15, whatever. When I was this age, what story would I have wanted to read? And this is the story.
30. I mean, this is a great book if you're just reading fantasy. No, it really is. It sounds like a good fantasy book.
And it's meant to do both.
Yeah.
I kind of took the Harry Potter approach where, no one is dropping F-bombs or anything. It just says Harry cursed. Or, Ron occasionally says, bloody hell.
In England, that's a hand wave.
Yeah, exactly. That's about as bad as it ever gets.
All right. So give me 3 takeaways here. So when do you want it to drop?
So look for it at the end of 2022.
Cool. Which we'll talk about, obviously.
Correct.
Okay. What is something you really hope people take out of it?
After reading it, I think the biggest thing I want people to take from it is that they're going to read the second one.
Okay, no, that's a good question.
Because there are philosophical things that I start to put seeds in for. Mm-hmm. Just as an example, there's an artificial intelligence who's very philosophical. Maybe it's Mads, but he's very philosophical, and they think that's hilarious that AI, like the thing that would have nothing to do with religion or anything else, has all these philosophies that he derives from mythology and religion and everything else. I thought that was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. So the big takeaway is just watch for the seeds of, what philosophical things that we're going to be checking out later on. What has value. I don't know. Things like that.
That leads a little bit to the last one that I wanted to ask before making a cool comment. How far are you on volume 2? So
I've mapped it out in my head to some degree. I've mapped out where it starts and kind of what the conflict is, and then I've got the name for it.
Ooh. Do you want to wait on it, or do you want to drop it
now?
No,
I can drop it now.
That's what I wanted. All right, drop the name of volume 2.
Okay, volume 2 is called A Fractured Mind. Is that a genuine response?
No, that is like, I'm like, now I...
Because you have
where does
to
that
do
go
this,
from?
like, for the cast, here's $20.
Oh, yeah, no, where's that come? That's crazy, I love it.
A Fractured Mind, so...
that's out of control.
There's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character,
okay.
And he's got the fractured mind. Maybe it's Carter, you'll have to read the book to find out, but there's someone who's... Like, I really like the idea of the Hulk, and I really like the idea of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and so there's a character who's eventually introduced to... takes in that role, and I think it's phenomenal. I love that. So it's called The Fractured Mind because he's literally got 2 minds in his head. Yeah.
Perfect. This book will be raring by 2023. We're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. Cosplay at it, and we'll give you something really cool. Cosplay these characters. We will give you something really awesome.
Well, and that's one thing I'm excited for. Imagine if 1,000 people read my book, and let's say 5 of them were diehard, and they knew I was at Fan X, and they dressed up as Phelan or Carter or whatever. Like, they had 2 colored eyes and they had red. Yeah, and they had their crystal blade. Like, that would make my, tears.
I would tear for you secondhand because it's my character they're doing.
Well, and Johnny's committed that at any of my book signings or anything else, he'll be there with me.
I'm there regardless. Even he has no option. I'm going to be there anyways.
Yeah.
Just signing Deadlight Nerd stuff.
Just because it's so awkward, so it's how it's going to go between us.
And we'll give him Deadlight Nerd stuff because whatever builds.
Yeah, exactly. So Johnny will be signing the book too.
Yeah, for no reason at all.
My muse is what he'll write in there.
I'll be like, thanks for coming.
Yeah. So that is the official interview, Johnny, right?
So, yeah, I'm stoked. Knights one last time. The Crystal Blade. It will drop soon. Don't even worry. We're going to overhype it because I'm excited for it. Jay, thanks so much for making time to be on your own podcast. I appreciate you for doing that. All right, Knights. Catch them on the...
Flippity flip.
Flippity flop.